people, welcome back to my channel. I'm a Colombo Australian woman living in Melbourne, passionate about all bookish things. Welcome to day number 4 of this Bookmas initiative 2020. Yesterday we discussed about the biggest disappointments of 2020. Today it's a way more positive video about my favorites of 2020. These are books that I will no doubt be rereading at some point in the future. In position number 12, this is a book that didn't make me happy, but it's a book that taught me a lot about time in Colombia where things were hard and the consequences of violence and corruption and all that. The book that I'm talking about is El Olvido que Seremos by Héctor Abad, and he writes about his dad and their life in Colombia, and his dad was assassinated and was murdered by one of the insurgent groups in Colombia, and his dad and himself were very vocal in Medellin about the corruption, all that crisis that we had in the 90s, 80s and 90s. I read this book early in the year and it was a very impactful book. If you want to know a little bit more about Colombian history and the consequences of the narco traffic and corruption and the cocaine war and all that, I really recommend you to read this book. It's a very well written book. In position number 11 we have Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and this was a surprise book. I wasn't expecting it to like it that much. It's a very easy to read and it's a Japanese author, and it's about this woman who works at the supermarket or a convenience store and she's happy about it, but society expects more of her, and although she's content, she's happy about her work and she enjoys working at the convenience store, her family thinks that she should achieve more. She should look for a corporate job and climb the ladder, and she doesn't want that. So it's all about that and how she sees society and the pressure that she feels from that, and it's so interesting. In position number 10 we have Home Before Dark by Riley Saga. This is one of the most anticipated books of the year, and this is a thriller. Riley Saga is a very famous thriller writer. Actually, I recorded a vlog about it, but I actually haven't published it, so I think I'm gonna edit it and publish it in the new year. Because if you have watched The Haunting of the Hill House in Netflix, this has so many vibes like that. I don't know who copied who, but wow. It is very atmospheric. You don't know what's happening. You have probably an unreliable character, unreliable woman telling the story, so you don't know what to believe. And yeah, I think the ending, the plot twist was right. It was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't see it coming. It was a very good book. At 5 out of 5 for me. In position number 9 we have The Wife and the Widow by Christian White. Christian White has become an auto-buy for me. He has 2 books and the 2 books have been 5 stars. Amazing. You don't see the twist coming. At least I didn't see it. It's about, of course, a wife and a widow, but you don't know who is who. It's told in dual perspective, so one perspective from the wife and one perspective from the widow, and you're just trying to piece together the mystery. I'm not gonna say more because I don't want to spoil it. Amazing, 5 out of 5, Australian author, support Aussie. Okay, we got to position number 8. Look at all these tabs. When you see many tabs in a book that I have read, that means that I really enjoyed it. And yes, this one, A Man Called Ove, or Ove, I think it's pronounced Ove. Amazing, heartwarming, made me cry. It's a book about an old guy, a grumpy old guy that is alone in the world. His wife passed away. His work just sent him to retirement early. He is in his 60s, I think, but he wants to die. And in the first chapter of the book, you find out that he wants to die because he doesn't see a point to continue living. Like, he doesn't have a reason. They don't have kids, so he's alone, completely alone. He only has a cat, but not even his cat. It's a street cat, and he keeps fighting with the street cat. It's really funny. But then in the first few chapters of the book, you realize that he wants to die and he is trying to commit suicide. But he tried so many times, and so many times the universe say, no, not yet. And it's all about that. It's all about how he keeps trying to die and how he forms a relationship with the neighbors. And also it's a dual time frame because we also go into the past, travel back to the past and see and witness the key moments of his life, what he did when he was young, his family, when he met his wife, when everything that happens with his wife, when his wife passed away, and how he became the grumpy old guy that he is at the moment. 5 out of 5. If I could give his 10 stars to this book, I will do it because it's amazing. There is a movie adaptation, a Swedish movie adaptation. The adaptation is actually good, but of course, always the book is better. Now we move in position 7. Oh my goodness. Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. And it's about a pandemic. A pandemic happens in the world, pretty similar to what we are experiencing. Yes, and I actually read it in March, I think. I don't recommend you to read this book if you are very susceptible and you are scared of pandemics and you are very worried about your well-being. I wouldn't read this book now. I will wait until we get the vaccine and all of us are safe and happy, because in this book it is a very similar scenario to what we live in terms of the virus came out of nowhere and pretty much was highly contagious. But the key difference here is that the virus in this book is actually like 90% mortality or 95% mortality. We have different time frames in this book: 10 years before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and 20 years after the pandemic. And the thing is that the pandemic wiped humanity from Earth because only 5% of the population survived the virus. So in that future view, you can see what happens and all the consequences of that. So yeah, 5 out of 5, Station 11. Coming to you in number 6 is one of those books that right now, December 2020, is everywhere. It's The Invisible Life or Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. It's an amazing book about this woman in the 1400s, I want to say. She wants to be free. She doesn't want to marry this guy. She wants to travel the world, but she lives in France and her family wants her to get married and have kids, but she doesn't want to follow that path. That's not for her. So she prays to the gods for something to happen. She prays that she could be free, and the only god that responds is the one that answers after dark, which means the devil. She doesn't care because he was the only one who answered. So she doesn't care, and she makes a pact with him where he promised her to be free, completely freedom, and she doesn't have to get married. She's free, she can travel, she can do whatever she wants. But what he doesn't explain is the cost. And of course we do know that all the pacts with devils, they have a cost, and the cost in this case is that she won't be remembered. So what happens is every time that she met someone, as soon as she gets out of sight from that person will forget the interaction, will forget her face, won't remember anything. It's about her life. She, as part of that deal, she is actually immortal. So it's all about 300 years of her life, from the 1600s to the 2000s, and it started in France, but then in the 2000s she's already in New York. And it's again dual timeline. You get to see what she did at the beginning with the curse and how she went around having a life, and it also explains her relationship with this devil, because this devil wants to own her, like he wants her soul, but the only way he can have her soul is if she dies. I mean, if she's willing to give her soul. So if she dies, but she cannot die, so she actually needs to say to him, I'm yours, kind of thing. So it's this it's not enemies to lovers, not really, but it's this, you uncover that relationship. And when we are like a third way in, a new character is introduced, and this new character is like something I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting this to happen, and it's about a guy who remembers her. So someone after 300 years actually remembers her. It's an amazing book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Coming to you, number 5, The Aunt Honeymooners, this romance novel, contemporary romance novel by the duo writers Christina Lauren. Beautiful, amazing, 5 out of 5. Funny, interesting. It's a haters to lovers type of book, but it's not forced. I couldn't be happier. Everyone in my book club loved it, because it's what we needed after the pandemic. My camera died, so right now you are on my phone. I hope the image and the sound is not bad. Coming at number 4, I have a trilogy that I read in 2020, and if you haven't read it, oh my god, just go buy the books, because it's amazing, the universe. It is Nevermoor by Jessica Townsend. So she is an Australian author, and it's a middle grade fantasy. The first book is The Trials of Morrigan Crow. Second one is The Calling of Morrigan Crow. And the third one is The Hunt for Morrigan Crow. I got the third book as an ARC, so that's why it looks different. Thank you so much to the publisher. And they are now out. The Nevermoor series is all about this girl, Morrigan Crow, who she thinks she's cursed, but at the end of the day, it's not. Like, she gets in her 11th birthday, she's rescued by this captain, and she's taken to a new world she didn't know existed. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. It talks about racism, especially in the last one. It's about friendship, love, feeling of belonging. I mean, if you are a Harry Potter fan, you need to read this. The universe, the magic universe is awesome. It is a funny story, very lovely characters, but also there is this evil that is around, but it's not as mean as Voldemort. So it's not that scary. But I really like, this is one of, probably after Harry Potter, I would say that this is one of my favorite fantasy trilogies or fantasy series out there. 3 books, Nevermoor series, Jessica Townsend, 5, 10, 15 stars out of 5. It's amazing. Coming in number 3, okay, the top 3 books that I read in 2020. Number 3 is a recent book that I read, and I actually wasn't expecting it to be a favorite, but it's called The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Oh my goodness, look, by the cover you will think that it's actually a middle grade book, but it's not. It's such a deep book. It has vibes of Wayward Children, in terms of there is this orphanage that is located in the Cerulean Sea, in an island in the Cerulean Sea. But this orphanage is being tested, or the main character, Linus, he has to go to this orphanage to assess the performance and how they are running the orphanage, to determine if the orphanage it remains to be open, or if it needs to be closed because they are not following the code and blah blah blah. What is the main characteristics of this orphanage is that the orphans have different abilities. So they have magical powers, or they have magical features. So we are in this fantasy world where humans live with magical people, but the magical creatures have different levels, and these kids have that high level of magic that is quite scary for the humans or the non-magic people. So one of them is actually the Antichrist, and he's a 6-year-old boy called Lucy or Lucifer, and he's actually the son of is the son of the devil. This book just goes like, it sounds very fluffy, it sounds very like Harry Potter or the Wayward Children, but it's way more deep. It's deeper than those books. It has social commentary, racism, because you fear what you don't understand, but there is no reason to fear these children. It is amazing. Look, if you read one book, you should read that one. We are getting closer to the end of this video. In position number 2, we have My Dark Vanessa. I already talk about this book a lot in this channel. I basically see lots and lots of tabs. This is such a profound book. It's a fiction book, but actually it reads like a memoir or a non-fiction book. It's about Vanessa, told in dual timelines. She was groomed by her teacher when she was 14, 16, but she didn't know. And she fell in love with this guy, and many years have passed, and the guy, someone else has come to, like in the Me Too movement, and has come out and said, hey, I was groomed by this teacher and he is being investigated. And people like in the school, they know that Vanessa could have been another victim, but she actually doesn't see herself as a victim, because she feels, or she thinks, that what they had was actually love and was a true relationship, and actually she feels that she was the one who instigated the relationship, and she doesn't feel like he took advantage of her. It's very impactful in all type of levels, because it shows you what grooming could look like, but also it's not that I can't relate because I was in her position, but I can definitely understand how it happens and how it goes unnoticed by the authorities or the school principals. Because when I was a kid, or when I was a teenager, in my school there was a teacher having an affair with one of my peers. I mean, it wasn't my friend. We knew it was happening, but it was hush, but it was happening, and he was grooming her. That's why this is so high in my list. And finally, we got to my favorite book of the year, and it's Clap What You Learn by Elizabeth Acevedo. It's her latest book. It is also told in verse like Poet X. This is her best book so far, and I was moved by this book. I cried my eyes out by this book. Clap What You Learn is about two sisters that one of them lives in República Dominicana and the other one lives in New York, and their father dies in an aircraft when he was traveling from New York to Dominican Republic to visit one of the girls. But when this happened, not only they find out that their dad is dead, but also they find out about each other, because they didn't know the other one exists. So they are 18, I think, 18 or 17 years old, but they have different moms, of course. When the dad dies, they find out that the dad wasn't who they thought it was, because they never knew he had another family. It was an impactful book. It stirred feelings that I didn't know I had very deep in my little heart. It's a book that makes you think about loyalty and what you do for your family, and it's amazing. I don't know how Elizabeth Acevedo does it. Everything she writes, it's so good. I don't know if it's because I was kind of in their position, like as I said in other videos, when I was 12, I find out that I have a brother, a 3-year-old brother, and when I was 17 or 16, I found out I had another sister. So I can relate in terms of when you find out that your dad is not the person that you thought he was, kind of. Although my dad, thank God, is still alive, so no problems there. But it was that discovering that, like, is this like, you love your dad, right? But he has been lying for so long to you, and it's like, how do you compute, how do you interiorize that and manage that. So excellent book. 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 stars out of 5. And that's it. Those were my, what did I say, 12? Top 12 books of 2020. And remember, I have read more than 100 this year, so this is only 10% of that. Just let me know what was your favorite book of 2020 down in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, I'm doing Bookmas. This is day, I think it's day number 4 already. If you have missed any of the other 3 days, go in the description box. I'm gonna leave the link for the playlist. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. I will upload videos for Bookmas from the 16th of December to the 25th of December. And apart from that, I think it's one book, one video a week. And also follow me on socials. I publish everything that I'm reading, my thoughts, pictures of my dog from time to time. That's it. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon.